The U.S. has struggled to find its footing fighting ISIS. An American program to arm moderate Syrian rebels to fight the terror group was suspended after it was deemed a complete failure. And President Obama himself has said before there is no complete strategy in place. Washington Post national reporter and Pulitzer Prize-winning author Joby Warrick is in Washington. His new book out now, Black Flags: The Rise of ISIS. Joby, good to talk to you. When we're talking about ISIS at this point, what do we want? What do they want?
Well, they want nothing less than to erase all the boundaries of the modern Middle East and bring us back to the 7th century. It sounds crazy, but it's true, and it's the same message they've really had for years. They regard all the states of the Middle East, from Jordan to certainly Israel, Syria, Lebanon, as artificial creations that were made by the West for Western purposes. They want to get rid of all those places, get rid of those rulers, and to create a caliphate with the most severe, harsh interpretation of Islam, which they themselves would administer, covering the whole region. And that's exactly what ISIS is going for now.
Well, where are they getting that harsh interpretation of Islam?
Well, it harkens back to very old Islamic creeds that the Wahhabi sect, which started in the 18th century, which basically the idea is that all Western innovations, any changes to the original messages of the founders of Islam are illegitimate. They shouldn't exist. And so what we want is have a very pure authoritarian society in which the Quran rules everything, and everything else, innovations are wiped out, and a lot of Western culture and influences are completely wiped out.
For so many years, we were worried about Al-Qaeda. How did ISIS get so much power?
They had this idea that was a bit different from Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda had this future vision of creating a caliphate, and bin Laden was kind of a careful, strategic thinker. He wanted to try to push the West out of the region by attacking Western cities, which he did at 9/11. ISIS just wants to do everything right now, and they're very extreme in their tactics, so extreme that bin Laden was turned off and kind of grossed out by them and said, "We don't want anything to do with you." But it's this core, this group that rose out of Iraq in the 1990s and in the 2000s that runs ISIS today, and it's become a very powerful message for them.
The tactics are shocking, not just that they are destroying historic artifacts and sites, not just that they are going in and they are wiping out entire villages in the most brutal, savage attacks, but that they're able to recruit kids from Western countries with seemingly nice, comfy lives using social media. What is behind the allure?
It's really hard for us to get our heads around here, but there are a couple things going on. For people who are closer to the region, there's this very powerful allure of getting into this cause. What they see is not just a cause, but the greatest cause of all time, to restore this caliphate, which was taken away from them centuries ago. A caliphate that really never existed in the sense that they're thinking of it, but they want this to happen. And in the West, you have all kinds of people and all kinds of reasons for getting involved. It could be everything from, the message resonates, the sort of the spiritual message resonates, but also sometimes just a sense of adventure. We see guys from the West that go there and they say, this is like a big video game where, we're marching, we're shooting weapons, we're taking over territory, and it's all kind of fun and games. And then later on, many of them find that it's also, they're killing Muslims, they're killing innocents, and some of them want to leave after they get there. Vehicles
have disappeared, weapons have disappeared. Syrian rebels intending to fight their dictator have disappeared, meaning they've switched side. Nobody knows where they are, even though the United States trained them. Do we have a strategy in place that can undermine ISIS? And how does Russia's entry into Syria now affect that strategy?
Well, a theme that goes through my book is the fact that the modern ISIS movement, as we know it, really is a direct descendant of interventions by outside forces into the region or into the Muslim world. A lot of the guys who are in ISIS now cut their teeth in the Afghan conflict. A couple of decades ago, they went into Afghanistan to fight the communists. And the ISIS core, as we know it today, came out of the Iraq conflict. So every time there's an intervention from outsiders, it's the fuel that feeds them. And so this becomes almost an irresistible force. They've got not just their religious message, but this idea of driving out the infidels, and that's a very, very, very powerful thing for them to use.
When you talk about influence from outsiders, though, Joby, you're not saying so, but it sounds like you're blaming the United States for the rise of ISIS.
Well, we've had a lot to do with it, and this is also core of the message of the book, which is that we as a country, made Zarqawi, the ISIS godfather, an international celebrity in the jihadist world. Nobody had heard of him until we made him part of our case for going to war in Iraq. We said that this was a nexus between Saddam Hussein and al-Qaeda. Turns out he wasn't that at all, but we made him famous by literally putting his picture up before the United Nations in the UN speech in 2003 to make the case for war. And since then, you know, the Iraq conflict itself was really the center cause, the thing that brought thousands of young jihadists from around the world to fight the Americans. And those same people today are fighting us in Syria and also in Iraq.
It's such important information to have at this time. Joby, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.